Sitting at your desk, enjoying a productive day, when an official letter happens to arrive. It's from the Department of Homeland Security. Your heart skips a little beat. They want to inspect your I-9 records. Panic sets in. Are your files in order, or are you about to face hefty fines or worse, legal trouble? Now, here's the real question. If ICE knocked on your door tomorrow, would you be ready? Hi, I'm Rhamy Alejeal, CEO of People Processes, and today on Don't HR Alone, we're tackling one of the more nerve-wracking challenges for business owners, preparing for the surge in I-9 audits under the Trump administration. With immigration enforcement ramping up, businesses in industries like construction, agriculture, and manufacturing are on high alert. But here's the good news. You don't have to face this alone. I'm here to walk you through what's happening, why it matters, and most importantly, how to prepare. Let's make sure your business is ready for whatever comes next. Let's start with the big picture before we dive into the audit checklist. Under the Trump administration, immigration enforcement has become a top priority, and that means I-9 compliance is under the microscope. As an employer in the United States, you are legally required to verify that people are legally allowed to work here. They can't be here on a tourist visa, just swinging by for 30 days, hanging out to see the new, the great Dollyland Opryland in Nashville, Tennessee. They can't do that and then get a job. There are lots of reasons why people are not allowed to work here, whether they're illegal immigrants or just here on a visitor's visa. Or sometimes student visas have those restrictions as well, for that matter. In the past, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, conducted around 1,400 audits in 2017. By 2019, that number had gone to 6,400, with plans to conduct 15,000 in 2020, before the pandemic disrupted those efforts. Now, with a renewed focus on immigration policy, experts predict we'll see another surge in I-9 audits. I-9 audits, which is the highest bar, when someone comes into your office and says, show me your I-9s. They also do lots of paper requests. You're in North or South Carolina, you may have seen these before as well. They just send you off and say, send me these last 6 people that you added on your unemployment tax, right? Like, they have those lists, so they just ask for a short one. But the main audit, the one we're really talking about today, is when someone knocks on your door and says, let's go through this paper. Sometimes they mail you and give you 2 or 3 days notice. Certain industries are more vulnerable than others. Construction, ag, manufacturing are the primary ones to name. If your business in those industries isn't using E-Verify, they will automatically sort you to a higher target, right? Much more likely to use it. But ICE isn't just looking for undocumented workers. If you have one of these audits, whether it's DHS or ICE, they're looking for paperwork errors as well, even small ones like missing signatures, incorrect dates, missing middle initials, incomplete forms. The stakes are high. For I-9 errors, the penalty starts at almost $300 per violation per form, and will climb to more than $27,000 per individual if you're found knowingly employing unauthorized workers. The new penalty structure as of January 2025, the paperwork violations alone start at $288 and go up to $2,861 per form I-9. If you knowingly employ unauthorized workers, separate from the form, that goes from $716 to $28,619 per individual, depending primarily on prior offenses. And that's not even counting the reputational damage or operational headaches. So let's talk about how to actually fix this. I put that in there because some people find out and they go, oh, but he's such a good guy. I know he's not supposed to work here, but I do it anyway. $28,000 per individual. Okay. Don't screw this up. Write your congressman, fight it. But Lord, don't just knowingly employ someone who it is illegal to do so. That makes you a drug dealer, a criminal. It will put you in a very bad place. And if you're willing to risk your business on it, then all the power to you. But realize that's what you're doing. All right, let's talk about noncompliance. This is quick. It kind of has a ripple effect on your business. If you're hit with a surprise audit and ICE finds significant errors in your I-9 forms, and suddenly you're facing not only financial penalties, but also a major possibility of losing critical employees, employee morale will take a big hit, your reputation in the community will suffer, and your operations will grind to a halt as you scramble to clean up the mess. I've had this happen with people who have brought us on, often afterward, to try and clean it up. Some I had a client that was scheduled to become my client on January 1 a few years ago. They signed in October, I believe. November they had this ICE audit, and it was like they were out of business by December 15th, right? It was only 7 or 8 of their maybe 30 or 40 employees that were there illegally, but losing all of them, then other people resigning because they were freaking out about it, major issues, discontinuing during the holiday season, put them out of business. Okay. They're going to have to restart under a new name. And they never actually did. I believe they're just out of business. So I want you to think that while it's very difficult to comply with this stuff along the way, the cost of getting hit with it all at once outside of the fines is terrible. And it's very destructive. So if your confidence in your compliance program, mistakes can still happen. The most common mistakes that I see outside of people just not doing I-9s or keeping them or keeping track of them is basically incomplete forms, missing a form here and there, failure to re-verify work authorizations. If they are here on a visa and they expire in a year and a half, you have to go back and look. And also using outdated versions of the I-9 form. The most recent one I'll cover in just a minute, but I think it came out in 23. You're using the one from 2019 because that's what you still have in your files. That doesn't count. It has to be the form for the year. Um, even well-meaning employers can get this wrong. So let's dive into how to actually do this to conduct an internal I-9 audit, see where you're at. So you have the power to protect your business by conducting an internal audit of your I-9 forms and correcting the issues now. You want to start with an Excel spreadsheet called an audit log. Put it on there, right? So you know what you're tracking. First, you're going to gather all your I-9 forms in your files. Separate them into two folders, current employees and terminated employees. Current employees, you need all of those. Terminated employees, you're only required to keep the forms for the 3 years after the hire date or 1 year after termination, whichever is later. Okay. So if someone's been with you 5 years and they terminate, you only need their I-9 for 1 more year. If they've only been with you 3 months, you have to hold on to it for 3 years. And of course, you need one for everybody actively employed. Take your list, take your roster of all of your payroll, go back through and look for missing forms. If you find a missing I-9 for an employee, you should have them act immediately. Communicate with the employee, explain the requirement, give them the form, set a deadline for completing it, and when you put it in there in the file, attach a memo to that document explaining the oversight. Missing form, we believe we got it when they couldn't find it. Had them fill out a new one on this date, have their IDs added to the audit record, put it in there, right? Review your existing forms for errors once you have the ones that are all done. Okay. Go back to or all the ones that were missing, go back to the ones that you did right and make sure that you did, make sure you did them right. Check if section 1 is complete. And by complete, that means no blanks. Okay. First name, middle name, last name, aliases. If their name is Rhamy Alejeal, no middle name, that is Rhamy, N-A, Alejeal, N-A. Okay. You don't leave a blank on there. You don't even leave a blank on apartment number. It's address 1, address 2. You have to put NA. Very silly, but that's how this form works. No blanks. Obviously, if there are other things on there that are completely wrong, like their name or date of birth or a document, correct that as well. How do you correct it? Get a different colored pen. It can be the same color, but it really helps if it's a different color pen, and directly correct it on the form. Just initial and date your correction, and then put that on your audit log, right? Noticed miss a blank on apartment date. Right in there. Magic. If you have an electronic system, they normally have a correction process. If there's a major error, it's sometimes easier just to complete a new form, but that's okay. Keep the old form, put the new form on top of it, right? Or digitally in your system, old and new, and add it to your audit record, right? Like requested the completion of a new form since the old form had, major transposition errors in the numbers on the passport document, right? Something like that. Then go through your terminated employees and make sure that you've retained their I-9s for the appropriate time. Even if you find unfixable errors, document them in your audit log. Don't get a new form, but it just shows good faith, right? So it's like someone's already left. You're in that year period, and you go on there and you realize that they didn't sign it. You signed it, but they didn't, or they signed it and you didn't. Don't Well, you could change your signature one and add a thing there, but I don't know. You don't have their passport number. It says passport and it's got a driver's license number in there, something like that. Sucks. Put it in your audit log and say, I've messed that up. Okay. And now you can mark on there why and just move on with your life. That audit log that tracks the employee's names, errors identified, corrective action taken, when it was identified, when you fixed it, will demonstrate your good faith efforts during an ICE audit and get you so far. It's not that hard, especially if you got a 15, 20, 30, 50 person company going through this. An HR company like ours would be happy to do it. If you want to do it internally, it's not that difficult. I have an actual, let me jump to this. Down in the description, top link is a list, our I-9 audit checklist. Click that, and then it'll give you a checklist to go through on each I-9. Makes life a lot easier. Download that. Free resource for you. Okay. Um, Once you've made your corrections, organize your file. Keep audit documentation in a separate folder for easy retrieval. If ICE comes knocking, you'll be ready. That easy. Most people keep their I-9s separate from their employee files. It's kind of its own little thing, just so that if ICE walks in, boom, there you go. Okay. All right. Once you've completed your audit, a couple proactive steps. Use the correct form. As of now, the only acceptable version of I-9 is the one that's dated August 1, 2023, with an expiration date in 2026 or 2027. Double check your forms to make sure they're up to date. There may be a new one. Trump administration's changed some things up, but right now, that's what we're looking at. Train your HR team. That's part 2. Make sure everyone involved in hiring and I-9 compliance understands the process. Hiring managers that get in there, oh yeah, thanks for showing me your ID. They get a copy. And then they look at page 2 and what do? They sign at the bottom. They didn't put any of that information in there. Okay. Are you keeping a copy of the supporting documents? Read the I-9 checklist to figure out if that's what you're supposed to do. Those sorts of items go through. You want to check it out. Consider E-Verify. If you're not already enrolled, E-Verify is an online program offered by the government that adds an extra layer of protection by cross-referencing I-9 information with your government database. If you're a contractor, a government contractor, or you have more than 100 employees in a lot of places, you have to do it. Some states, it's only 5. A lot of people have to do it. If you are not one of those businesses, consider voluntarily doing it, especially if you're in the construction, manufacturing, or agriculture industry, because if you've got your E-Verify and it's clean and it actually matches up approximately with things like the number of W-2s issued, you're pretty much good. Yeah, they're probably not going to audit you. Leverage technology. Invest in HR software or an HR company like ours that tracks I-9 compliance, flags missing forms, alerts you to upcoming expiration dates. Automation saves times and reduces the risk of error. Increased I-9 audits are coming. With the right prep, you can protect your business and avoid costly fines. Start by conducting that internal audit, training your team, staying up to date on compliance requirements. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you don't have to tackle this alone. At People Processes, we specialize in helping businesses like yours navigate the complexities of HR compliance. If you're feeling unsure, let me help. If any questions about this, I do a 30-minute free consult with any US-based business owner with more than 10 employees or, a senior executive or HR professional. We can talk and we'll guide you through your I-9 challenges. I'd love to get to know you. Go ahead and book down below. And if you need anything else, drop me a line in the comments. I read and respond to every one of those. Visit our website to download our free I-9 audit checklist as well, and tons of other resources. Thank you for joining me on Don't HR Alone. Remember, compliance is not just a box to check, it's a way to protect your business and your people. Until next time, go out there, have a great day, and get your work done.